can sit down and we'll get going.
Where do I sit?
On that side.
All right.
Chase, if you wanna come sit on down, brother.
Sure.
Wow. This is what you've been doing.
Anyways, welcome to Inline. I was supposed to have this logo finished, but I decided to just leave it like that because it looks decent sitting behind it like that anyways.
By that you mean you were too lazy to paint it?
Yeah, I didn't want to pull this back off and then spray paint the logo on it. I could have. You see my markings on it at least. So yeah, if you're not subscribed, you should subscribe, and I'll show that to you later. But it's just Inline and Company. If you're seeing this on YouTube, then like, comment, share, subscribe. This will be blown up on the camera because it's kind of just all white if you look on the screen there. But anyways, a quick little, maybe to break the icebreaker. Mom will get a kick out of this for sure. Everybody, I'm Wes, and this is Inline. We are doing pole position. This is going to be a little podcast, and we're just going to be talking about car stuff, car history, and everything automotive, truck related. This is Chase, my partner in crime.
Yes.
He's our neighborhood dumbass, but
Very true about that one.
and this is my dad, our special guest today. He has been around the car business for, gosh,
I've been born.
his whole entire life. It's basically how I was. There's nothing other than cars for me.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we're doing this. So, real quick, if everything is cars, who is this family member?
Jeez. That's my other brother from another mother.
I didn't know I had two uncles.
Yeah. Yeah. That's Harry and the Hendersons there.
Okay.
Have you guys seen this movie? Harry and the Hendersons?
I don't know where it was from.
Oh.
The viewers can't see it, but Tyler is back there. They have seen him on social media. Or actually, no, yeah, he's in the other two videos. I was going to try and show you the other two videos on here, but I'll just break those videos to you another way. The other two videos are a lot different. The movie's alright. I'm going to put a different picture on here real quick. Is it this one? Yeah, Grandpa and you. At least I was told it was you.
That is me.
So, 1968 is your year of birth, whatever you want to call it. And this is my grandpa, who is, I guess, the reason why you were so involved in cars, and part of the reason why I am so involved in cars is because you were just in that world. And I know that this grandpa is a whole different lifestyle, and we can kind of work a little bit into him because I want to maybe get grandpa down here at some point and talk about his life. I tried to get him to talk about some stuff the other day, but he was not too open to it. Certain things. But you grew up, I would say, really in the 70s. Your adolescence came more in the 80s. And I would say you really grew into your adulthood there in the 90s and 2000s. So I kind of want to talk about the 70s a little bit because that would be the more childhood you, I guess, at the moment for that period in time.
Mm-hmm.
More like, there's another picture of Grandpa.
There's that famous haircut that I used to get stuck with.
So did Grandma just say, boys, come here and take the pasta bowl?
Pretty much.
Did the good old bowl cut.
Damn.
Chase is still rocking that.
I just don't get my haircut that often.
Nowadays, though, you kids wear that haircut. You kind of stylish it out a little bit more. Back then, it was just straight down and round.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't think Grandpa was doing much better there. By the way, NOS energy drink is for you. You don't have to drink it if you don't want to, but I would love to be sponsored by NOS, which is why it's here. I have messaged them before, and they're awesome. They're not super high in sugar, and they don't make me all tingly and super jittery.
Got it.
Uh,
That was out in the.
that would have been in California, right?
No, that we were in the Great Plains up north, South Dakota and Nebraska. That's where that picture was taken. We were traveling.
Driving, flying,
Driving. Never flew.
Grandpa ever fly? Except for when he's
Rare.
in the military?
Rarely flew. Always driving. My dad wasn't very fond of being in the airplanes. Only time was during military service.
Chase, how do
When
you
it
feel
was
about
over.
airplanes?
I hate them.
Why?
I don't know. I just don't like them. I like driving. Driving is like the main thing for me.
I think if I had to go on a trip and it was within the continental U.S., I'm driving. But if I am going to Mexico, I'm flying. If I'm Canada, I'd drive to Canada just because I probably would only want to go to like Toronto,
I thought you were gonna say
which is right across Detroit.
I always preferred to drive. Even now, I did just because there's just so much to see.
When you are talking, you're probably speaking more than loud enough, but I only have that mic, so try and enunciate yourself a little bit. Other than that, opposed to driving, you have done a lot of it for
Been driving a
trips.
lot.
Not even just trips, but
Yeah.
even when you were younger, I know you've spoken to me a few times about how many times you've been back and forth across the U.S. And
Yeah. That's in Big Bear.
one thing I can say is I don't know how many routes there are to go back and forth from Michigan to California, but I bet he probably knows quite a lot of them.
There's a lot of routes. I can promise you that. I think from the time I was 17 till the time I was 19, in just those few short years, I bet you I drove back and forth 25, 5. I bet you I drove 50,000 miles across the United States, up and down, back
From
and
the ages
forth.
of what?
17 to 19.
So 2 years, you think you drove 50,000 miles back in the
Well,
80s?
If you drove from Scottsville, Michigan, or if you drove in North Michigan, anywhere in Michigan, to Los Angeles, that's about a 2,500 mile trip.
Yeah.
One way. If you do that twice, if you take that round trip in 1 month, well, there's 5,000 miles. Do it 5 times a year. Sometimes I do it more.
The math is mathin'.
You can't argue with the math. But I used to take different trips though too. I used to come down and that's how I got to see so much of the different parts of the country when I was driving. I would drive and I would be in. I remember I was in Amarillo, Texas.
Yeah, because you were all by yourself a lot of the time, weren't you?
Almost all the time.
Even after Gabe and Adriana?
After Gabe and Adriana, I maybe had 2 or 3 more trips after them alone, where I was traveling to see family or traveling to see somebody or to do something. But I was always taking side streets. When I was younger, I was taking side roads, side streets. Streets are like.
I wonder why. No.
You did not.
I'm joking.
You did not know where you were headed. I ended up in Kansas, and that's how I found the original site for the Wizard of Oz.
Really?
Yeah.
Just happened upon it?
I just stumbled right on it, and it said, "Welcome to the streets of the Wizard of Oz." And if you look it up, in Kansas, there is a place. It's called the what was it? The song. Oh goodness gracious! The Follow the Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah.
So there was a place there that said you could find the Yellow Brick Road and down this way, and then they actually
Kansas?
had. Yeah, that's where it's based
This
out of.
says the original set Wizard of Oz was at the Metro Godwin Mayer, the MGM studio in Culver City.
No, that's where it was filmed, but it was based out of that town.
There- Hey!
So if you go to the state of Kansas and you look for the Yellow Brick Road in the state of Kansas, it'll bring it to you.
Yellow Brick
If you just
Road, Kansas.
Yeah.
The Oz Museum?
Yes.
Oh, it's just,
It's
it's
a
like an
museum.
actual,
Yes. It's the Wizard of Oz Museum. And it's
kinda cool.
It's an actual yellow brick road.
yeah, it's an actual brick road that's
Right.
all yellow.
It is. I always found stuff like that just interesting. I just stumbled upon it. And,
It's on 66.
Yeah. It's out there
It's
somewhere.
on a part of 66.
It's somewhere out there. I just
Wait.
know that
Doesn't make sense.
I stumbled
Okay,
upon it, and
does it?
I was like, wow, this is cool. No, I don't know anybody who's ever been there. So
Yeah.
the fact that I've been there and seen that, and then when I told somebody about it, a lot of, like, no, that can't be real. No, it's there. Seriously, I've seen it.
It's the first time I'm hearing about it.
But there's been a lot of other experiences, when I was traveling and stuff like
Yeah.
that. This was when I was in,
Yeah, I want to hear a little bit about, this was Grandma's, wasn't it? Or
well,
kinda?
it was my dad's, and my dad would bring it home. He'd leave. It'd be a car my mom would have for however length of time before the next one came around. I was in first grade, I think, right here.
That's what, 70?
74, 73, 74.
So that's got to be a 73 Mustang? 70, or was it a
Yeah.
brand new one?
It was always new. Mom, we never really had anything.
So Grandpa
like
never
this.
bought anything?
No, nothing like that, because of what he did. I got to ride and drive in every Ford built from 1969 through 1977, probably. All of them. I got to ride in all of them. I got to ride in some neat ones too.
Yeah, I got a neat one on here that's going to be showing up in a little bit. But I think the theme of this real quick, is a story that I've told multiple times to my friends. You've probably heard me tell it, but you
Right.
definitely don't remember me telling it to you.
I was probably.
Well, I guess I'm gonna want to hear it.
We
'cause
definitely got.
I'm gonna want to hear this story.
We were definitely a little.
Basically, if you guys go to getinlineandco.com, you'll find merch there. All of it. All the inline merch. I don't know why you haven't gone to see it yet, but I mean, you really should.
Yeah, we were drinking a little juice, and I was explaining to them how driving is just like in my blood. Like, since I've been young, it doesn't matter. I can hop behind something, and within probably a few minutes, I'll be like, all right, wow! But I tell people about the story of you driving Grandma through the mountains
Mhm.
when you were, what, 7, 8?
No, I was
Okay, 9, 10 maybe?
when I took I took my mother, your
And I
grandmother.
was, sorry.
We were driving 1980, 79 Ford Fiat. Man, that was an ugly car.
Ford
It was a Ford Fiat. It was a 419 Ford Fiat. I
What
believe
year?
It was a 79, or maybe a 78.
This thing?
Let me see it. That's the Spider.
Okay, but it was that.
No, it looked more disgusting than that. That actually would be cool.
It was a Ford Fiat?
It was called did I say Ford Fiat?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I was like, what?
Ford never made the Fiat, okay?
No, well, we know
Last
that.
I knew it.
So that's why I was like,
No,
That's how I was confused too.
it was Fiat. It was called the Fiat. Fiat 419, X19, Fiat X19, I think is what it was called.
oh man, was it
It was a little.
this?
No, that's the two-door. It
It was a 4-door?
had a little hatch on it.
Reminds me
Well,
of
that's
the
the X19
Okay,
from
no, the
1979.
X19 was a two-door. That was the two-door with the.
Is it a GL?
No.
Oh man, that's got 4 doors and it's pretty
It-
ugly.
it was- Okay, so
Closer to that?
see the one on top there, that yellow one.
Yeah.
Okay, it kind of looked like that.
Okay.
And this was
They won't be able to see it.
No.
this was
I'll
a
put a
little
picture up.
four-cylinder, 4-speed, and I was about 12 years old.
Oh, okay. Well, I
And-
guess I exaggerated a little bit.
Well, the thing is I was about 12 years old. Now you got to think about this: 12 years old. and we're going. My mother does not know
This would
how to. She's not very good at operating a stick shift. It was never taught. I'm the one that actually taught my mom how to drive it at that young age.
At 12?
I was probably 10
What?
to teach her how to drive, and my mom was learning to drive a stick shift. And my brother would be in the back seat, and he'd be hanging on. You know, seat belts weren't the thing back then, even though they're important right now. But I remember we were driving to up northern California, and we were going up through what
It's
they
been
call
like this time period?
that time period.
Dang.
Okay.
So he was
And at that,
teaching my
at
grandma
that
how to
age
drive a
right
stick.
there, I was teaching her, my mom, and we'd be on an empty road, and my mom would be in the front seat, and I would be telling her where to put the clutch in and pull the shifter back, and then she'd be going back and forth, and I'd switch, so I'd show her. So what she had to do though, so she could learn, is I had to have pillows in my back and on my bottom so I could reach the pedals comfortably. And then she was always like, I can't believe you're doing this. And I would get in the car and I'd just start driving it. First gear, second gear, third gear. I'd clutch it, and I'm going. Well, we were going up these mountains, and my mom was, as she's going up the mountains, I remember my brother was getting scared because she was popping the clutch too fast, and it was bucking and jerking. We couldn't get up the hill, and cars are traveling at the time, speed limit was 55 miles an hour. That was the national speed limit. And my mom was struggling to do that speed, especially going uphill, because if you know on a stick shift, when you're going uphill, you start to lose speed. So you have to downshift in order to gain speed.
Yeah.
She wasn't doing that. She kept it in one gear, and the car was going boo. And I'm like, you gotta downshift. She's like, I'm trying. Next thing you know, I told my mom, I says, just pull over, Mom, pull over. And my mom being
Grandma.
my mom being grandma and being gutsy, she trusted me.
My grandma's a
So-
feisty little Hispanic woman.
So I got into the front seat, and I just said, hold on. I remember put it in gear, and I took that car and I drove through the mountain pass. Now these are
Yeah, and remember the guy in the VR yesterday who said, you gotta be like a cholo, drive with your hammer out the window like this. That's what he was saying.
I would literally, I'd have my hat on, not my baseball hat on. I'd have I don't remember, but I'd have a hat on, and I'd be sitting up, and I do remember I have to sit tall, and I have to keep my hands up, and I'd be driving, and I'm thinking, either they're looking at me thinking that is the youngest man I've ever seen driving that car, or he is just a real small guy. But I drove that car up that hill, and you're talking about.
You remember where it was?
Yeah, I was going up through the San Luis Obispo Mountains, which is the pass, and there's two of them. There's the Oxford Pass, which is heading southbound, which is literally straight up. That's a 6% grade, and if you're familiar with grades, you go 6%, you're driving like this uphill, and
It's like going up test at Silver.
Okay.
so you're going up pretty steep, and you're going up not just a couple of miles, you're going up miles, and cars are sitting on the side of the road with overheating and all kinds of stuff. But I took this little car and I ran it all the way to the top of the hill, all the way to the top. I made it there, and at that point I knew we were good. I pulled over, got out of the car, switched over to see my mom. My mom was like, oh, thank you, honey. You got us up here. I said, yeah, I'll be ready when we go back.
At that point, you're hoping you go back just to drive.
This was
again.
my first year playing baseball, by the way.
Really?
That was my first year, yep. I was number 3 in the Angels at the Rivera Baseball Association. That was my first glove I ever had right there.
Jeez.
Yep, that was
Well.
1978.
Jesus, the goal.
Jerseys?
Yeah.
Honestly?
Yeah.
But think about it though, that mesh type pattern.
I had stuff like that for basketball when I was a kid, but then obviously everything changed over.
Mm-hmm. But
Yeah, I got a little more advanced as I got older.
yeah, I think baseball that was definitely, if I had to give a few worries for my dad growing up, I think it would have been baseball. If making sure his car was at least running for the week. He's as long as it's running, I can get wherever I need to go.
It's a point A, point B mobile.
Hey man, I'm pretty sure he drove a Volkswagen Bug once to school and friggin' was running off of half the cylinders to get there.
That happened.
Yeah, what happened there? You had a couple of Volkswagen Beetles, didn't you? You're a Volkswagen guy too, so you find this cool.
Yeah.
You
I don't really like the bugs though.
No, but these were the cool Beetles back in the day.
So the first one I had was the one from out of high school. That was a 72 Bug.
So like this age period.
That period right there. Yep. I had a 72 Volkswagen Bug, and it was a great car. I loved that little thing. It was gray, but my mom was driving it one day. Thank heaven she's still alive for it, but she got hit broadsided, and the what do you call it? The trash trucks.
Oh.
They hit the front of it, and they cut the front end off, and they pushed her into a ravine, and took the steering wheel, and pushed it up. The steering wheel came all the way back. Had it not thrown her over, it would have crushed her. But at that point, it was nothing but four wheels, and the motor was in the back, so the motor was fine. And I traded it for a '64 Cadillac Coupe de Ville.
Half of a Volkswagen Beetle.
Yep, the person that wanted it wanted to use it for a dune buggy on farmland. I said, okay, dune buggy on a farmland. I get a Cadillac DeVille out of it, I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, I don't have a picture of any Cadillacs on
No.
here. But I do have something that I'm going to try and find real quick. So Grandpa was probably completely lying to me when he told me this, but
We're going to say exaggerating.
Do you know what kind of car that is?
Yeah. That's a 1936 Auburn Duesenberg.
Okay. We saw one at a car show once.
Yeah.
And Grandpa said, I knew the guys that were building these.
He did.
Oh.
In fact, he didn't just know the guys that were building them. Dad was actually building with the designers that were building these replicas back in the day.
Oh.
And this one here was specifically for my dad. It was burgundy with the two-tone. And my younger brother and I, the reason why we liked the car so much is because of the smiling front bumper.
Mm. I have another picture of it somewhere. I think.
This was in Pico Rivera. We were setting down. We were across the street from our house. My mom
Chase,
was
have you ever been to California?
I think once when I was a kid.
Yeah. It's the only time I've ever been. It sounds like we got to go again.
Is that where Universal Studios is?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been there.
Universal? Universal is in Florida, I thought.
That's the second one.
Oh.
The original one's in Universal City, and just west of LA.
Yeah, that's the
But
only time I fly.
this picture was taken by my mother, and I'm standing off to the side, and our house. This road right here. This is Bascom, so the school I went through was on this street here, which was to the right. I was about 3 blocks away, but our house was across the street. I knew some friends that lived all in these houses down here. Quite a few people there back then.
Yeah, do
That was a great
you ever think about California?
car. Not really. Not really. I only think about, the golf courses I could play during the summer, during the winter. And maybe some of the car events to see, but oh yeah, there's a classic right there.
So,
It's my final year in baseball.
this was not Scottville, was it?
Yeah.
It was?
Yep. That's my brother. That's your uncle. This is me. And then I still hear from I can't remember his name. He's the only one that I get messages from. That's Coach Rod Schwartz.
Is that the one your Uncle Michael talk about?
Yeah, Scott Fredericks. He's a good guy. I've seen him every now and then. One of the kids in here was this young man right here, I remember. Was it him? He actually had a 69 Boss 302.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, he had one. And it was really nice. It was really clean. But we were a good team this team year. So when my brother and I showed up, the team hadn't really done much over quite a few years. And my brother and I arrived from Los Angeles, and we were
because you guys had schools looking at you when you were in LA playing, didn't you?
We did. My brother did a lot. I had him. We both had him looking at us when we were here, but my brother did quite a bit when we were here. When we were there, I should say. But things, ended up the way they did.
Slipped on a piece of ice.
But this was supposed to have been my superstar year, man. Wow. First time living in this weather, and I slept on ice and slammed my right shoulder into the concrete.
I was never joking about that. He really did fall on a piece of ice.
It was the worst day of my baseball career life. I was so angry at the world when that happened. I remember my parents bringing me to the chiropractors, the doctors, because I couldn't hardly throw the ball anymore, and I was in so much pain. And I tried to play, and I remember I went out. I remember when we started the season, we ended up going to the regionals that year, and the team hadn't done nothing in a decade, meaning they never even made it to a district final. We made it all the way through the area, the districts, and went all the way to regional finals. Well, we lost, but we went a long ways that year. And I remember throwing the ball, and I remember pitching. I don't remember what the inning was, but I was throwing hard. And I struck one guy out, struck another guy out. The coach was rooting me on. He's like, "Fine, wow, this is great." And then I remember I threw one pitch, I dropped, and I remember I called the coach over, and he says, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Coach," this Coach Rod right here. I said, "Coach, you got to take me out." And he says, "Huh?" I said, "You got to take me out." I says, "My arm's done." I struck out 5 batters in a row, first inning, second inning, and that was it. I felt like my arm was detaching. And I had no more. I said, "This ain't gonna happen. I'm not gonna make it." But it's also the first time I played in league, and I hit a home run that year.
Was it the only home run you've ever hit, or just
the only official home run I ever hit playing baseball of all the years I played, all 10 years.
Well, it was one more than me, and I played for about the same time frame. So
I was known as being a strong batter during the latter end of my playing career, but I was known more for my glove on the field and pitching and throwing the ball.
So I know baseball. The only reason I think I'm bringing up baseball on this is because I see a lot of professional players that have just these insane cars. They're ridiculous. I mean, you see guys pull up to the MLB, like some of the Tigers players. One of them has a Brabus 911, which, if you didn't know, is a lot of money.
Is that what you were talking about the other day?
Yeah.
What's it called?
A
Brabus. It's like Mansory.
What is that?
They are brands to allow you to understand without, hopefully without disrespecting those brands. It's kind of like Saleen and Shelby, where they'll take a stock vehicle
I see
and
what you're
completely transform it. Cool. It's on. All right. So hopefully the camera doesn't die again, with too fast at least. It said it was on 2 bars of battery. We're gonna quickly go over this car real quick. So this was Uncle Nacho's. Nacho is short for Ignacio, in case anyone is curious.
Yeah.
And it was just the camping vehicle, right? Really, the traveling camper vehicle.
This is where I learned what it was like to four-wheel drive, four-wheel in high country, in one of the GMC High Sierra. That was a great truck.
Well, I guess after I get some suspension on my truck, I'll have to take you to flight school.
Yeah.
Because
I've been there once.
the dunes. You get your little air up there, but now I know you don't do a whole lot of off-roading, but I've done a little bit. I have pictures of the black truck in here. You and Mom went to, what was it called? You and Mom went off-roading in the black truck.
I don't know. It was just an off-road. Yeah, it was just an off-road place up in northern Michigan. I don't remember what it's called. It's just a large acreage property that has four-wheel drive trails and off-road trails.
Wasn't it twin something?
I couldn't even. I don't even remember. To be
Oh.
honest with you, I don't remember.
Well-
but some of them hills were pretty steep, thick dirt.
And
You know.
the little baby 2.7 did okay.
Oh, that was nothing for that thing.
This
That
was
was nothing.
probably the largest size F-150 you could probably buy almost, and get the smallest motor.
Motor.
The 2.7.
Yeah, it had plenty of power.
2.7 twin turbo.
It had plenty of power.
It made cool noises. Power though, I don't know about that too much.
Oh yeah, that 2.7 that's a strong engine.
It's got the
Oh,
belt oil pump.
that wasn't the
Yeah,
low oil pump problems.
The belt oil pump driven and the submerging oil.
Oh yeah. Well, this one was submerged in water. No, I'm kidding. It would have been kind of neat to see it, what it could have done in stock form, because the trucks are already known to be very capable off-road vehicles. So
yeah, I don't have a
I
problem
mean,
with them.
we know a bit about what they can do in stock form because of the dunes and my shenanigans. But
Surprised the truck's not broken.
whoa, we know my truck is gorgeous. This car, this isn't the one. I don't think this is the one you drove over to the dealership when I was working at Audi.
No.
But the 500s.
That was a GT.
This was like, no, it wasn't. It was when the 500s first came out. You drove one over to me, a gray one. A gray one.
That was the yeah, that was the other one.
But back when these first came out, what is it? Fox Ford, one of the largest Ford dealerships, the largest Ford dealership probably in Michigan, West Michigan.
No, probably the second. I think there's only. I think Bill Brown Ford might be just as maybe bigger, maybe slightly bigger by a little, but I don't think there's anybody else. I don't know of anybody else who'd be bigger than us as far as our
Right.
size.
Now you've been with Fox since 2005.
Almost 25 years.
Yeah, 2005, right about there then.
No.
2004?
2000.
That's when they bought them out.
Oh, no. Okay.
Fox bought out. It was
Two-
Duttler
2000.
originally.
Yeah, I was with Duttler before that. I'm sorry. Yeah, 2000. It was August 2005.
So, him being with Fox. Now, he actually, for a day job, does the same thing I do. We sell things for cars. We sell service on cars. That's how I'm able to fund all this for you guys. Keep that in mind, okay? I got merchandise. I know that's not much, but they make cool coasters. We're gonna have a website soon too, so don't worry. I've been doing it for a very long time. If you are ever in talks of a Ford, people and service stuff gets brought up, and you start talking about Michigan and Fox. Again, I don't have the picture of the specific car, but one of these, again, you can't see the whole car, but there was a yellow and black one that you got to work on once, and you took me for a ride in it.
Mm-hmm.
What was going on with that one? Why was that car even at your dealership? Because I thought it was supposed to go to North Carolina or something like that.
So that one was a vehicle that was a yellow with black stripe Ford GT, and that one belonged to a person who had hired a company to sell the car. So the company had found a buyer. That buyer was located in Arizona. The buyer had reached out to me because I was the one that was looking the car over. And it came to me through the consignment, what they call a consignment. So the person that's selling the vehicle has been given the job to sell that car for the owner. The owner, the consignor, they found the buyer, which was in Arizona. The potential buyer had requested to have the vehicle looked over at a Ford dealership. They brought it in, and I'm the one who they come to. A lot of the sport cars, they'd reach out to me. I don't know why, they just do. They don't have to always come to me, but they just simply do. A lot of it's just my background. And then I talked to the guy that wants to buy it, and he said, listen, I'm interested in buying the car. And at the time, I think he said that, I don't know, it was $140,000 or $150,000 or something of that sense. And he says, but I need to know the car is driving good and has no problems. And I said, well, what are you requesting? He says he's going to contact the consignor. He could let him know he wants that vehicle road tested, and he says, I'm willing to sign off on that. So he did. So I had the vehicle. I took it home for the evening to drive it, and that's when you got to ride in it, because I went home, parked it, and then it's a GT, so sitting in my driveway.
Remember I've shown him, so where we're filming is very close to where I grew up, and I've shown him, I've taken him past the house. You've seen it. Now that driveway used to be a bit steeper, and at the top it was flat. Mm-hmm. So the car is sitting at the top of this hill, just in front of our little house in the neighborhood. I mean,
stuck
people
out like a sore thumb.
The kids that I went to school with riding their bikes past are all, as they're going past, not even paying attention, I would have been the kid that walked up to the house, and knock, knock, knock. I want to take a picture. Is that okay?
So I would have been that guy.
Yeah, dude, I would have. So there was a 1970 Torino GT, maybe a little older, in the same neighborhood. Me and Zach were riding our bikes. Maybe we weren't even riding our bikes. We were walking to the gas station to get slushies. And I looked down this cul-de-sac, and I seen the Torino, and it was right next to a bright orange Roadrunner. And we walked over there. The garage was open, so I kind of looked around like, hello, anyone home? No answer, so I knocked on the door, and they were like, yeah. Came out, talked to us about the cars, opened the doors for us, let us see it. It was really cool. But so yeah, I definitely would have been one of those kids that walked up like, hey, can I see the car?
I would have did the same thing.
I love that stuff. But no, that car, that's probably the fastest car I've ever been in, just outright. I've been in a GT 500, Nate's. That car is just, that's wicked. But this thing, man, when the GT 500 hooks, it goes. But this car, it just hooks and books. There's no other explanation. It's a six speed.
It's a 6-speed.
It's a manual, and
yeah,
dude,
they only made it in a manual.
Frickin',
Yeah,
I want one.
It ripped.
I would love to own one day.
They go for even more now, don't they?
Over $500,000.
That's what I thought. Good old classics.
It's incredible to know when they first came out, they were about $120,000, $130,000.
Yeah, and I bet dealerships were selling them for $250,000 though.
And
probably
now they're just they're
expensive as shit.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. cars in general, and we even look at cars like this one. This is a 97 SVT Cobra. This was one of your customers, and they would just lend it to you for months on end, I feel like sometimes.
This one here belonged to two very good people that I know. One of them is no longer with us, but I still see her, the owner of the vehicle. She doesn't have it no more, but
Yeah, they sold it to the dealership, didn't they?
no, they sold it to a private person,
Mhm.
but they offered it to me. They really wanted me to have an opportunity to have it.
I would love that thing, man.
The only trouble I ran into was Mom was not really. So this car just wasn't doing it for her. I mean, it just wasn't. And even though it sounded incredible, the sound it made and the roar of the engine was everything. I just didn't like the seats. They weren't very comfortable. You know, the suspension was a little soft.
You did a burnout in front of my middle school once.
But you could turn and burn it, but it was all power, no superchargers, no turbochargers. You know, it's a Cobra motor, so it was all hand built, which was great.
That was what was really cool. When you open the hood, the intake had a stamp on it that said "built by hand by this person and this person,"
Right.
and it would say like accomplished or finished on blah blah blah
Right.
blah date.
Yeah, those motors were very special. And that one there had a low mileage on it, but yeah, I couldn't swing that one.
Well, it's okay, because after that car got passed up, we took this car. This car came into play.
Oh yeah.
This would be the current vehicle that is what I'm going to call the baby. I think me and my brother have argued with this young, not so young anymore, man here. Sorry. About getting rid of this car or not. So I had an S4. I loved that car. I was going to rebuild it. I was actually, the loan that I got for my truck, originally I was going to get that loan to have German Auto fix my Audi. But then I ended up selling my Audi and I got my truck. The only reason I was going to keep that Audi is because I knew that he was tossing up the idea of getting rid of this to help with certain things. And I was so upset that I was going to keep my car that needed a motor rebuilt completely just to keep a car that we could take to the track once it was done. Just to have something.
Yeah, it's crazy how far my car, how much it's
Yeah,
changed.
this
since
is
then.
the first couple of years you had it.
Yeah, it is.
And there was like nothing done to it then. Let's see, does this one? No, this one? Oh, there's a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, I had a
When
little bit done to
this was at, do you know what track this is?
That's at Gingerman.
Are you sure about that?
I am, because where I'm parked right here, there's the center tower.
So this is the big tall tower? Because there's a big tall tower at Gingerman that you have to drive in front of when you're going onto the track.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure this is Grattan, Dad.
I don't think so.
You're confusing them.
I'm confusing. I am confused because
Well, I can definitely tell you. So if you go back to that picture, so this one here was pre-996 rear brakes, because this one here I have the M brakes in the back.
I forgot. He put
I
the
have-
brakes from a 996 on it.
So I have
In the back
I
of it.
have the 996 Porsche Brembos in the rear now. So now I can definitely tell the difference there.
Now
And
this car was in talks of being bought for a long time. Long time. You did not buy this car till I was a sophomore. No, I wasn't even. I had just gotten my license. I had to have been a junior in high school when you bought this car. I was almost graduating. You've been talking about it since I was probably in middle school.
I was about 5 years.
Yeah, it's a long time. I was probably 12, 13 when he decided that he was going to look for one of these. Maybe even younger, 10, 11 maybe.
And I looked, that's for sure. I looked year after year after year, and it wasn't easy to find one that was, that was not tampered with, that wasn't screwed around with and altered and changed. When I got it, it was completely original.
How many miles were on it when you bought it?
I had 94,000 on it.
That's not even that bad.
Now
I
how
know.
many are on it? 126?
About, I've had the car since, about 129 right now. So I've had the car.
Since 2017. 2018.
So in 8 years, I've only averaged. So I have to admit, the first year I had the car, I probably put 8,000 miles on it.
You drove it a lot.
I wanted
though.
to drive it. I just was there's just nothing better. There was nothing better than that. I drove it, and it was some rainy days I drove it. But then as each year went, the next year decided, you know what, less rain, more sun, and then I started getting it ready to put on the track, to enjoy a little bit about what, because the way I looked at it was this. You hear about what the car is.
That's Grattan.
That's Grattan. You hear about the car, how it handles and everything, but unless you really experience it, you're just hearing about it.
Mhm.
And I had the car that I have the actual car that you can experience it and feel it, what it really is capable of doing on a track.
You have the name of this video memorized, and every time I go to look it up, I can't find it. What's the name of this video that you are on YouTube already?
Wasn't the one you were racing the Focus?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Trying to Keep Up with the Need for Speed.
This one. With Jackie Chan holding money in a
Yes,
panda?
yes.
Okay, so if you go to YouTube, it's a creator named AJT. It's just those 3 letters. Trying to keep up with the Need for Speed Most Wanted car. And he has it in parentheses E46 M3. The car that he's trying to keep up with in that video is this car.
Is that car?
And he's the one driving it.
Right.
So like if you want to see what the car's like really capable of, because I don't know, I might have a clip I can throw in here from me riding in it, but that video really shows it well, because that's not a slow car, but the Focus ST is not a slow car by any
the one that
means.
was behind me, the one driving it, no, he's got that thing. That thing's tuned. It's got some goodies in it, and he said that he just had a heart. I didn't know he was taking the video, and he said that when I met him after the fact. His name was Aaron. Really nice guy too. I was coming around.
It was actually at a Midnight Motorsports event, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't one of these events. I was with another group that I had run with a few times, Track Time, GPS Track Time. And what was I going to say? So I'm going around turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, and I was going around, I was getting ready to go 1, 2, I was getting ready to go 3, and I said to myself, and like I always do, and I see somebody in my mirror and is trying to tell me, and I'm like, all right, you want to play? We're going to play. Let's see what you can do. So I went another round around the track, and he was fairly close to me, hugging the curves and turns. So he was hanging in there. Get to the straightaways, though, I would just pull away. I mean, I just literally pulled lengths and lengths and lengths away from him. And then we were coming around that one, and I go, all right. I remember saying to myself in the car, all right, you hung with me the first time. Let's see what you got the second time. I said, so the second time I went, I hit turn 1 pretty hard, and I make my sweep into turn 1 and go into turn 2. Well, keep in mind, I don't know that he's recording what's happening in the front. I only know that I can see him behind me. My camera is recording in the front. He's recording in the front. And he's going hard because in the video his tires are screaming in the turns because he's trying to hold the turn and continue accelerating. And you could tell he's on the edge of the tire because it's as he's trying to make these turns. And I hit turn 2, and I'm thinking, all right, we're going to go into turn 3. And I go, right here in turn 3 is going to be it. And I hit it hard. I went in that turn. I came in there. I was probably coming down. I hit about 95. I hit the brake, swept into the turn, and I swung way out to keep the car from overturning. And then I held it, and at the very edge of the outskirt of that lane where I was hanging in, I hit the gas even harder, and the car, I nudged it back in. Well, he was behind me, and he tried to do the same thing, and his car went, he overcorrected, and the car just swung. He went in 360s, and he swung off, he went off, and he was like, in the video you hear him, he's like, oh, blank, shit, damn. Well, in my mirror, that's what he's saying, but when I'm behind him, and I'm making that turn, I'm looking back, I went, whoa! I just seen his car just go, boom, like this, gone. And so I continued on, and I realized, well, I remember driving away thinking, well, so much for that one. So I kept driving, we got off the highway, I got off the track, and then I walked over to where this group of young guys were hanging out. These boys were hanging out, they're in their 20s, and they were all laughing about it, and I had passed every single one of them on the track. And I remember, I said, hey, how's your car doing? He says, oh, dude, did you see it out there, man? He goes, man, I was trying to hang with that car out there. Dude was flying, man. He goes, I did all I could, man. I was like, I gotta get this. He goes, and I just couldn't do it, man. My car couldn't hold, and I lost control, and I thought, I know, man. He goes, where were you at? I go, I'm the guy you were following. He goes, no way. He goes, I got it on video, man. I go, oh, cool. Send me a copy. So that's how I got to know where this was at. And
that's how I found out it was on YouTube.
That's how I found out it was on YouTube, yes. But, yeah, good memories on that one.
Speaking of the M3, if you had to put this one up and go on to another venture, what would you get? Would you get an updated M3? Would you go with an M3 M4 again, or would you switch it up and get something different, like a Mustang or I don't know, something else maybe?
If I was to put this one up and then decide to go to a new one, I would be probably going to one of three. I would go to an E92 M3 2-door.
That's the
V8.
Okay.
Or I would go with the 2000. I'd go with like a 2014-15 4-door M3, or I'd go with the 2-door M4.
So you would stick with the M3, M4 series cars?
The M3 and M4, I just think for what they're capable of doing and the exhilaration that they give you, I'd be all about that. You just can't replace it.
It's hard to see the screen.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out a way to fix that, but for now it works.
You probably could have turned the ISO down, just with his background.
I can edit it,
Yeah.
and in post I can always put what we're looking at on there.
You got an hour.
But
You got
they-
an hour and 56 left.
That's fine. They're gonna get the whole idea at least from
Yeah.
it still, but some kind
I
of
might even go with another
another E46.
E46.
I saw someone once. They took the V10 out of the M5, and they shoved it into one of those.
They did. There's a video I've seen on that.
But
I think it's neat. There's just something about the straight six. You can't replace that.
But would you get another one so that way you can put boost to it and
If
see
I
what
had
happens?
if I had a second one, I would actually make that a more tuned car for the track.
Like no interior type of tuned for the track?
It would be something that I would be throwing on the Nürburgring or something like that. I mean, top end,
Flying it over.
fully lighten it up, and just for raw power. I would be doing a lot of different stuff like that.
Alright. Well, a not so interesting card. I just think it's funny.
Oh my gosh.
This is the same one that's still around, isn't it?
Yeah, this car's gonna be forever stuck with me.
This car is gonna end up in a scrap pile somewhere.
That's gonna be the farm ranch mobile.
The ranch mobile. So this is an 04?
02.
02? I thought mine was an 02. I thought this one was an 04.
This one might be an 04 actually. I don't remember now.
So I had an 02 Explorer junk as my first car. It got me from A to B.
Well, it wasn't junk when you got it.
Well,
It turned into junk when you rolled it, you hit it, you blew
Whoa,
the motor,
okay.
blew the tranny up, blew the transfer. Actually, you literally did. That transfer case literally blew a hole through the freaking axle. I said, "There's pieces on the ground. Where'd they go?" Somebody had to heard something was happening. And then it was sideways on somebody's driveway, somebody's front yard.
oh my gosh. We're not interviewing me, okay? The car, and I still helped sell it for like $2,000 after all that.
Yeah,
That guy came up and talked to me, and I didn't see none of that money. Anyway, yeah, I messed up a car, okay? Pretty bad. I was not very nice to it. The interior was still great, and before I blew up the front differential, it drove perfectly. 4-wheel drive was fine. It was super clean, no rust, minimal rust. Very typical early 2000s Explorer Michigan vehicle rust.
I'm curious to see what else you got on this camera thing here.
There's a lot in here that I didn't really expect to see. Kind of like, I need a little explanation for this. I've only heard, I think, jokes about why you were working out in this picture.
So,
And I have it titled, the camera can't see it, but if you can read that.
okay, I'm a junior in high school. Actually, I think I might be a junior. I might be a sophomore too. End of my sophomore year, maybe at the beginning of my junior year, I met an old friend of mine that I used to hang out with, Moses. We were lifting weights and we were cracking jokes about girls that we were interested in, and we were making jokes, pumping iron, and one more for her, and do one more for her. I was like, okay, this is the last one I'm doing, and if I could do this, then she'll be mine. So he took the picture. It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
A long time
If that
ago.
was...
That was 40 years ago.
Yeah, long time. So I showed them a picture. I think it was this picture. And one of them was back there in the living room when I was going through these, and they would go, "When did you take that?" Asking me, and I was like, "That don't look nothing like me. I don't have a mullet."
Yeah. That's what my hair had a big old perm, all dialed in. I was me and a good friend of mine, Brian, we were just taking our best shot to see if we could get something in Hollywood somewhere. And we met up with the studio, and they sent us down to get the photography work done, which we did. And then, you know what? If anything, I had fun. It didn't go anywhere, and it probably could have. I remember we both got a phone call, but I was starting a relationship and I knew that I had to pick one or the other because I knew that one wouldn't survive the other. And I chose the relationship over this, but I probably should have chose this over that. But hey, that's the way it goes. However, some of these pictures I took, they made out real well in some hair salons. I remember going to a hair salon getting a haircut, and the lady says, she had cut my hair a few times. She's like, you know, your hair's so long, it looks so good. I said, yeah. I said, I got pictures of this. You want to store it up here for somebody to pick a haircut style? She goes, that would be great. I said, I'll even sign it for you. I signed it. I gave it to the lady. She put it along with her hair pictures with all the people she had there, stylists. And my hairdo went up on that. Now, if I seen people walking out of there with their hair slicked back, just like mine, I was like, well, they're obviously picking that picture.
Oh, Dad, I'm sorry, but I could never do my hair like that. You see, my thing is, I think you have the same hairstyle. You just chop off from the ears down and.
Well, I kept my hair very clean and groomed, so it wasn't like all shaggy and like.
Well, I know, but.
But, you know, when I finally did cut my hair, it was long. It was back to my shoulder blades.
I could never. I can't even imagine you with long hair. Like, the longest I think I've ever seen your hair was probably either during the Colorado trip or like right after it or something.
Mm-hmm.
It was as long as I'd ever seen your beard too.
Yeah, I like my beard.
Yeah. Well, you didn't used to like it.
Oh man, what the hell? This is 3 young knuckleheads.
It's you, cousin Tony, and Uncle Michael.
Yeah.
I hope Elijah watches this video.
Yeah, that's an old one. We were just out having fun.
This could be just me completely remembering things wrong, but I thought there was just this one specific story I remember, and it may or may not involve Uncle Michael, but it 100% involves you and Sean and California. I think Billy was involved, maybe, because you always call him Snake, and an incident with a vehicle and a wall.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
Yeah, it involved me and my cousin Bill, and only me and my cousin Bill.
Oh.
Yeah, we were in high school. My cousin Bill called him Snake. That's what I call him. So Snake had a 74 Chevy Malibu. Had a motor put in it. Had a 350. I remember, black. Had nice big fat hot rod tires in the rear, skinnier tires in the front. It was fun. It was a fun ride. We were cruising and we were on a date that night. And I don't remember the girls' names. There was 2 of them. One, obviously there was 2. He was with one girl, I was with the other. We were on a date, and we were just being teenagers and being silly. And we decided we were gonna make our move in the cemetery. So we went into the cemetery and we parked. Now, you would think what was going to happen was going to happen. The problem is me and Snake had been drinking, and not knowing any better, we were probably 2-3 miles from home, maybe a couple of miles at least, and we were on the opposite side of the road of where his mom and dad's house was, and my aunt and uncle. And so we drove into the cemetery, and we were making out with these girls, And I don't know what came over us, but he was driving and he says, I can't drive. And I said, well, don't worry, or maybe not worry, I got this. And I went ahead, I must have, we had some Burger King, I think. And I must have been angry at those Burger King Whoppers because I think I smashed one into the ground to the point where the burger, the bread, and the meat became one. But I remember we were driving out, and I don't know how I did it. I just don't even know. I just said, we were driving, and I drove, and I went through the brick wall. I mean, I went through the whole column. And he says, I hit it, and he was in the back seat. And he popped up, and he said to me, you know, what just happened? I says, don't worry about it. We're going to be fine. I'm going to get us through it. I remember put it in reverse, and then I went again and smashed. I'm thinking, I got to get through. There's no wall going to stop me.
Oh my gosh.
And all I had to do, now again, this is a 16-year-old kid that is, I'm a half-wit right now, and I'm not really sure what is going on other than I can only see in front of me. And all I had to do the next day was turn the car at least 5 feet to the left, and I would have been right through. But I didn't do that. I determined to get through that brick wall, and that wall, the column was about that wide. It was about 3 feet and thick. And I hit that gas and I said, hold on, we're going through it. He's like, what are you doing? I said, the brick wall is in the, I remember yelling, the brick wall's in the way. Something like that. Brick wall's in the way. There's a wall in the way. We got to get out of here. And I drove that baby right through that wall. And I remember we tossed the girls out and said, you got to find your way home, or you got to get...
Jeez.
you got...
Hang on, wait 1 second. Did you hear any of that?
No.
He drove his cousin's car through a brick wall about 4 or 5 feet tall.
Right through it?
Yeah.
What?
And then told the girls they were with, get out and find a way home.
we were in a cemetery, and I knew that being in a cemetery, if you run over a brick wall, that's not going to be good, or through a brick wall. And I remember the girls had to get out.
Oh.
We got home, and then we were in the bedroom sleeping, and the next morning I just remember my uncle came out. He grabbed us both, yanked us, we walked outside, and he showed us the car, and oh my gosh, he just let us have it. What did you do? And I said, it's my fault. And then I remember him looking down the front floor, and he goes, look at these, there's Whoppers. We had 2 or 3 Whoppers on the ground. They were just crushed. Because I do remember him saying, we were saying those Whoppers are too thick. I can't eat the Whopper. Mm-hmm. We need to squish them. So we put them on the ground, pressing down on them, because we wanted the Whoppers to get as thin as possible.
Oh.
All right.
So the camera can hear this real quickly. This is a what year make?
It's a 77 Datsun 280Z.
And it was a Datsun. It wasn't Nissan yet, right?
Well, Nissan has always been.
Well, Nissan's
Nissan's always been the parent company.
But it was a Datsun.
But
logo.
it was a Datsun logo.
And this car had basically
the cam cover on it. So it's the Datsun logo, front and rear. In the rear of the bed on the tailgate, it says 280Z. You pop the hood come up, and the valve cover on the top says Nissan.
Oh, okay. Well, it's still really cool though. Off camera, because it was dead, we found out how the car, why it's no longer in his possession.
A sacrifice. Basically, it was a sacrifice sale for pennies on the dollar, unfortunately, and I never got to recover it back.
And the lesson from that, I don't even want to call it a lesson, but like something to learn, I guess, from it. Obviously, if you're in the car business, in the industry, and we have cars, nowadays we know what a car like that's worth. In good condition, like that one would have been. You just don't get rid of it. And if you do, it's, because yeah, you had to. You had to make the sacrifice.
It's the one I bought, right?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
The
Cheese from yesterday.
one I was using was from the ones that were open, because I took the wrapper completely off of it.
So this one.
No. The other stack. It's the one that I used yesterday.
Only an unopened one and this one.
The unopened stack. Because I took the wrapper completely off of it.
Am I dumb? I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyways,
Oh.
what else you got?
Alright, so
Oh, never mind. I found it.
where do you think, if you had the chance or the opportunity to, if someone came to you and said, "Hey, we want you to drive our car. This is our team. We want you to drive our car." What do you know the difference between classes and divisions of racing, like GT versus prototype and
I don't. I know that there's a power. I presume your GT, your GTAs, your Class 1, whatever you want to call them. I'm sure there's classifications of what the car can be equipped with, how much power it can be equipped with.
Right, but what if a team, hypothetically, what if, hey, this is Red Bull, we're gonna give you, say, come race with us for this season, and if we like you, come back next season.
Mhm.
You think would you do that?
Mhm.
Would you? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I mean, there isn't a racing category.
There isn't like a specific one you would want to shoot for, really?
I'm not.
I mean, if I like,
See, I'm not. I don't mind oval track racing like NASCAR, for example. But or dragster type racing. So I think those are cool. But I find more enjoyment in the tracks that you have to maneuver the track as a driver rather than study the same course of action throughout that whatever track you're currently on. Because if you're drag racing, it takes a skill, to be behind a vehicle and full bore straight out. But you gotta hit it and hold on and make sure your timing is precise.
you gotta go straight.
And you gotta go straight. And if you're in an oval track, and again, I'm not trying to downplay it. When you're on an oval track and you're going at a high rate of speed, you've got 4 turns. You see what those 4 turns will look like every full circle you make. So you know what you can almost anticipate what you're going to expect the first, second, and third time. The changes you're going to run into is when the other cars are changing what they're doing. That's going to change what you do. The thing I like about road course tracks is because they're all different, and you can drive on all kinds of different ones, and you have to learn how to. It pushes you to be faster and slower in the turns and the curves that you're making and trying to get through faster than the next guy.
Right. I think so. Paul Walker has a quote. There's fast cars, but then there's fast drivers. Fast cars are. Yeah,
You get
it? Well, turn completely around, and the camera can see
You get it though?
Yeah, I get it.
You get it? The straight line, the crooked lines?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Paul Walker said, though, once he was like, you can drive a car fast around the track, but you know, the fastest guys around the tracks are going to be the ones going the smoothest around the track. You know, if you're every corner you're skirting, your tires are sliding, you're not gonna be getting anywhere.
No.
You know,
No,
you gotta be smooth around the track, and it's
But that's also, so I've heard that drivers say, if you're going around a curve and you're going too far out to the right into the turn, or you hit the apex of a turn and your tires are chirping, you're not performing well. Well,
oh, I don't necessarily say that. I meant more like the sliding the car through a corner,
Right.
rather than sticking it like it's on rails.
grooving the car is more, what I would
Grooving
say
it.
is more appropriate. You have to, you're making the turn where the car is more planted, rather than the car feel like it's pitching too hard to the right, or it's rolling, and then you feel like you got to balance it better. So much takes place when that happens. And I'm not by far the fastest driver on track.
No.
But you can definitely tell the difference from drivers I've been on the track with that are like novice and beginner type people who want to drive and experience that, which is great. But I've been on the track with them.
Have you ever had a negative experience on a track with anybody at the track?
Believe it or not, I'm going to say yes. And the negative experience wasn't that the drive was bad. It's just because what I perceived that was being allowed by the host of the track. So when you were on a track, you're on a grid with drivers that are all supposed to be or should be in the same kind of driving class that you are in, basically. So if I'm driving an advanced driving, then I would expect to be around drivers that are advanced like I am. So that way the drive is more consistent.
Yeah.
Who you're driving with, they know what to do and what to do, what and what not to do. That's the best way to put it. But way back in the beginning, when I just started driving and putting myself on the track, I had myself in I don't remember if I was a beginner or intermediate. This was lots of track time before. But what I didn't like is I remember watching a group of guys that were driving, and I wanted to drive and do my thing and really get my groove into the track. But
Like in Gran Turismo when we be hitting it.
But what I noticed was there was a group of guys that were driving in another group. But then I noticed they were driving in my group. And I noticed they were driving in another group. So my thought was why are you being allowed to drive in all of these different groups, and all you're doing is you're driving this hunk of shit and you're pushing everybody out of the way. I watched this guy, I remember watching him, he was behind me, and I was getting fed up with it. Now, I wasn't going to push myself any further because I wasn't there yet, and I knew I wasn't there yet. Granted, I was going fast, but I wasn't going as fast as this guy's going. This guy was going so fast around turns that when he would hit the turn on the apex, he would lift that front right tire, would come off the ground, and it was like the tire's doing a 45 right off the road, and then he would bounce the car back down as he's hammering it, and he's right on top of me. I'm thinking, okay, you're obviously a more advanced driver. Why the F are you following me on a beginner group then? And you're pushing me out of the way. This is horse shit. I didn't pay for this.
Yeah.
That made me mad. And in fact, I got off the track that next round and I met a guy who was taking photography. And I've been on a lot of photographies. And I was coming over, this was at Grattan actually, and I was coming up and I hit what they call the jump, which is on the back.
Mm-hmm.
And when I hit the jump, my tires, you can see my tires come up. I'm almost like they're elevating off the ground as a car hits. This guy was coming off the ground. It looked like he was Dukes of Hazzard. That's how hard he was coming up, man. He was yeehaw! I'm like, man, I'm gonna break that car or two. In fact, he had the car painted. There was a competition they held down in Kalamazoo somewhere called the Lemons, or
24 hours of lemons.
Lemons. It's a Lemons
That's
competition.
that's.
It's not. It's in Gingerman. They have it when they drive these cars that are just all ready to get beat up. Well, that's what this guy was doing, and him and his buddies were doing it. But they were pushing out of the way, and I just said, "I'm done. I'm done." I actually said, "I'm not riding it. If they're going out, I'm not going out."
Yeah.
Because they're being obnoxious about it.
Right. So when you go to start taking your own car on a track, do you have to take a class or anything? Or
No.
do you really just need a helmet and the car?
You just need to have the car, approved helmet. You need to have at least the seat belt covering your shoulders and your waist. And
This was at the Extreme Experience.
yeah. And that's really basically it, you know. Bring any car you want, actually.
Yeah.
Problem is certain cars just
Aren't built for
aren't
it.
built for it.
So that was your negative experience.
I have-
What? So I know you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say that those guys that you're sporting right now are the group that you really like to drive with.
Oh, I've always this group here. Yeah, they've been. I drove with them many times. It's been a couple of years now since I haven't been able to get back out, but wow, there is a classic.
Even says what it is. Mercedes Benz. What is that? A 406.
August '84.
August '84.
Yep.
What is that? I know it's a Mercedes, but
That's a 450 SL convertible. Yep. That's a Mercedes-Benz 1984 SL. Okay, so I'll put it this way. The picture, I'll correct this. The picture was taken in '84.
yeah.
Okay. The car is a '74. That's a '74 Mercedes-Benz SL.
Was that your first car?
That was not my first car. But I will tell you, I sure
Or the
did-
TR7 or something like that?
TR7 came after this one. But this car, me and this car right here, boy, let me tell you, I had some good memories on that car right there. I drove that to school every day, my junior year. Every day I drove that to school. That was my ride that my dad got. And boy, I tell you, what a drive. That was just a beautiful car. Beautiful to ride. I always thought it was
Probably
really,
felt like a boat.
I always thought it was like really fast, but in now that I'm older now and I see things differently,
Yeah.
it wasn't really fast. It just cruised. It was just a nice cruiser. It was an excellent babe magnet too. I hooked up with some really cool chicks.
Oh my gosh.
Most of them were from Europe. Yeah, and I remember one girl. I don't remember her last name. Her name was Elodie. She was French. She was pretty cool. I dated a girl named Donna.
Donna?
She was pretty cool. She was Italian.
I know an Italian chick.
But yeah, I had some fun on that car right there.
But I guess to really round things off, favorite dream track to drive on that's not the Nürburgring, because the Nürburgring is the pinnacle. It's some brain rot for the people who understand peak. The Nürburgring is peak, is it not?
I love it.
Okay. There's some people that won't understand what pinnacle means, but they will understand what I say when I say it's peak.
So the if I could pick a track
Yeah, let's say in the U.S.
in the U.S.
Yeah.
If I could pick a track in the U.S., I would be picking. Well, I'm probably going with. See, I like long tracks.
I like tracks that are kind of like Grattan, where they have a nice long back straightaway,
So the track,
and then everything else is
the track I would want to go to that I would love to be
like
on.
oh my gosh, Magic Mountain on Gran Turismo.
Mhm.
It's in I want to say that's in the French Alps, but that's a track if that was in the U.S. that's
So
perfect track.
Circuit of America would be the one I'd be looking at.
Circuit of America.
In Texas.
Okay, so not Road America, because Road America is the
Road-
Michelin track in Atlanta.
Road America.
It's in Atlanta.
Well, Road America is Wisconsin.
No, it's not. We're gonna argue about this right now.
Sad
Road
presidential-
America.
Presidential debate.
Road America, Atlanta.
No, Road America is Wisconsin.
Road America. Atlanta. Michigan Raceway. Road Atlanta. Oh, Road Atlanta.
Yeah.
My bad. I got the two mixed up.
Yeah, Road America is in Wisconsin. That's the.
I got it wrong. Well, that's why he's the driver and all this car
The one-
stuff, and I'm just
but
the one
if-
who asks the questions
But
and thinks
some
I
of
know
the
things.
some of the tracks that are in the U.S. that are all tracks that I want to be on. Lime Rock, Sonoma.
Yeah, what about you?
Huh?
Track.
I don't know
Fib
enough.
track.
I don't know enough tracks.
You know, you've raced enough on Gran Turismo. Those are real tracks.
I know that, but I know how to race them. I don't know the dang names.
Well, which one do you think would be your favorite? I know we did the Grand Tour class, the Grand Touring track on Nürburgring, the short track, the shorter one,
Mhm.
a lot. The Grand Touring track, the one that's infield, not the Nordschleife.
That's the only reason why I know like the whole Nürburgring track.
So if I was to pick a track in overseas to be on, I would probably be thinking something like Monza.
Monza would be really cool. The F1 track.
That would be one that I would
That's-
like to be on. The
That's
other one,
in Saudi. No, that's not in Saudi
Italy.
Arabia. Is it? What's the track in Saudi Arabia?
I don't remember what it's called, but
There's a track out there.
the other track that I would love to be on is the one that's in jeez, I can't even think of the names. I know them. I'm picturing it in my head. It's Spa.
Spa.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's another really cool one. Do you know the track? The start right here, and then you have to stop right away and take a really sharp turn.
Oh, yeah.
Then you go down the hill, and it.
Me and you 1v1 on that map.
Yeah, we did.
Ah, well.
So those are the Monza.
You got clips there, buddy.
Monza
I did
is
first lap.
Monza just because they call that the track. That's the speed track right there, and then and that would be a great one to be on.
I
Spa is
think
another one.
a
I
high
wouldn't mind.
speed. I like high speed tracks. I should say. I like tracks where the Red Bull Ring. That is a track where holding your speed and just carrying it through the corners is detrimental to your performance on that track because it can make or break your performance on it.
Yeah,
Completely.
Those would be neat. Dude, that's a little Ford. That's a little Escort back there.
Hey man, Mom had an Escort. I drive an Escort, one of the older
This
ones
was-
though with a whale wing.
This was in Costa Mesa.
Chase, you got anything you want to add?
I can think of it at the moment.
You don't have no questions? I mean,
You've asked basically everything I can think of.
Any other pictures?
I mean-
Any other surprising pictures that I'm?
You got anything? So I've got. Let's see. I mean, you nothing about baseball. Ask him about the Ford Fiesta and his cousin.
A Ford Fiesta?
Yeah.
You had a Fiesta?
No, he went on a really fast ride down a main interstate freeway with my grandma and his cousin once. Because my uncle got forgotten about.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. So it wasn't a Ford Fiesta.
Oh, I thought it was a Fiesta.
So my brother, we were at, back then it was called Magic Mountain. Today you would know it as Six Flags.
Mm-hmm.
And we were an hour away. We got back, and I remember I was sleeping in the back seat. Got home, and everybody wanted to know where my brother was.
That guy.
Yeah, there's three.
Well,
of
probably around this age, I'm guessing.
Well, we're a little older than that, but there's three of us. There's three cars, and everybody pulls in, I guess, and I'm sleeping. Next thing I know, my mom's getting excited. I remember my mother screaming, yelling, "Where's my brother? You know, where's Michael, my brother?" That was a beautiful car to drive right there. And my cousin had a Mazda RX-3.
Oh.
Had a RX-3, a little rotary engine, 4-barrel.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to always tell me, this car he'd tell me, it's a fast car, man. He goes, don't doubt the 4-door wagon. I didn't believe him, but I got to drive it as a teenager, but that was my first experience on driving a rotary engine. And man, it was, wow, man, that was the fastest little 4-door wagon I'd ever been in. That thing just cooked.
I like the
Well,
Doritos.
We took off. We drove all the way back to Six Flags that night. We made it back, and he was going so fast. He was doing well over 100 miles an hour, and he got pulled over by the police department. My mom was panicking, and they didn't give him a ticket. They actually escorted him at a high speed all the way back. The police department escorted us all the way back to Six Flags, and when they got there, I just remembered, it's like glimpsing lights. I remember lights being on and people everywhere, and I remember my mother yelling, you know, where's my boy, where's Michael, where's my son? And my brother, they finally got him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember my brother, all I remember him saying was, "Mommy," so he goes, "Why did everybody forget me?" Next thing you know, we're in the car and we're on our way back home, but I slept through that high-speed chase all the way back to get back there to Valencia, California, which is where they were. That Huracan was a nice ride. You know, it's funny, when I drove that car on that track, that was my first time putting the car on a track like that, and I had a good time with it. I remember I enjoyed it. But when I did it the second time a few years ago, the instructor that was with me, it was cool. He's like, you know what? He sat back. He just said, dude, you got this.
Mm-hmm.
I was driving a Ferrari, and they had me behind the lead car, and they told the lead driver they told the lead driver before we started, you have a driver that's going to be behind you. He has experience. He's going to stay with you. And he says there's a chance if we're going fast enough, you might lap the last driver. Well, we almost lapped the last driver, but our time expired in terms of how many times we were going around. But when I was in that Ferrari,
Lamborghini.
the second time.
Oh.
The second time I was in that Ferrari, and let me tell you, I had that baby move in. That guy, his name was Dave, nice guy. He was like, I remember him saying, it's on video, he says, dude, he says, I can't believe it. He says, you're getting a thumbs up from the, because when we were done, the lead driver went like this. He stuck his hand out. He says, you don't get a thumbs up from the lead driver unless you're able to stay with him. He says, and he goes, Sid, he goes, that's the best fun. I said, hey, I remember telling him, I go, Dave, I go, hey man, that's why I'm here. I'm here to please, man, and make you happy. He goes, I didn't have to give you instruction. He goes, I gave you a couple tips, but dude, he goes, man, was the best compliment I ever got, being behind the wheel of a car from a professional driver.
Mm-hmm.
That he could barely determine the difference between his driving skill and my driving skill at that point, because the lead driver couldn't lose me. He couldn't get ahead of me. He couldn't leave me behind. I was right on him the whole time. In fact, I was staying behind him. Otherwise, I would have passed him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, dude, he goes, man, he goes, I can't believe. But I was doing things that you normally wouldn't do. Like I would brake a little late. I was heavy on the brake in the end, where a lot of our drivers, they're braking real early. I was coming across top of that hill at about 150, where most of them are coming in at about 130 to 135. So I'm coming in faster. I'm braking in later. I'm turning in sharper in the turns. I'm hitting the apexes right on the number, man. I'm just floating and pushing. And the driver in front of me, man, you could hear him just, what? And I was sitting there thinking, man, and Dave, one of the things he said made me laugh. He goes, whoa, Sid. He goes, man, you are making that driver work for it today. Because you should not be able to keep up with the lead driver. He's a professional.
That's why he's the lead driver. He's keep everyone in check.
He is the best driver on the track at that point that's driving. And you should not be able to keep up with him. But I was able to keep.
That's why they can't ask me. I'll just.
They bumped
leave
me.
them all in the dust.
What's funny was when they got out there, he said, hey Sid, he said, we're gonna do something. And all these people were ready to go, and then he goes like this, and they roll me up, and he goes, Sid, we're gonna move you right up to the front there. And I went, okay. So all these cars are in line, and then he moved me all the way up to the front, and I'm thinking, all right, what's next? He says, well, when the lead driver takes off, he goes, you're gonna go out right behind him. That's who you're gonna stay up with. And he says, we're gonna find out what kind of driving which HPD driving you got. And I go, well, all right, I'm up to the challenge.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of trying to get at him earlier about. I don't know if you heard me ask him what class of racing he would want to be in. Those guys that you rode with and got to drive with, even the guy that was with you in this, those guys, they actually will, like, they will sit and watch people drive and put them into classifications. And like some guy, well, maybe not those guys specifically, but some of those guys, that's what they do. They'll go out to track days, like he goes to open track events, and they will say, well, this guy's shooting for this class. You should probably start here. Or he looks like he should be more like this. And they literally will classify people for teams and say, this guy is good to go, this guy's not good to go, you know? And it's kind of interesting.
It is interesting because you get different people that are driving pros, or these guys that are driving these. And the first guy that I drove with, Dave, great guy, you know, and he definitely was allowing me to stretch my legs a little bit. And in fact, he was having a great time. He was actually like pretty happy with it. The second guy I drove with, was more of a, I could definitely tell he did not want to, and again, I get it. They're sitting in the passenger seat, okay? They don't have control of what's happening. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You're driving. They don't know you from Adam. So they have to trust what you're doing. I couldn't get the second guy comfortable to realize that I knew what I was doing, and then I no longer want to put myself at risk, and I didn't want to put anybody else at risk. And but so he had me. He forced me to do things differently. So I had
in the Porsche.
Yeah. So I was in a GT3 RS, And unfortunately, the GT3 RS, cool car, hands down. But the fact is, not one of my favorites. You know, I know that. I don't know. I mean,
I'm gonna use the
the
bathroom.
GT3 RS, which I think is a phenomenal car from a visual and a feel perspective.
Yeah.
But there was something about, for me, there's something a sound a car makes that drives me. You know,
This didn't sound good enough to you?
it didn't sound. It didn't sound. It didn't have the rumble that I would enjoy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It didn't have the rumble that I would have enjoyed. That roar that I like. That Ferrari was incredible. Hands down.
V12, is it? What was that one?
No,
V8?
it was a V8.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, the Ferrari was incredible, powerful, and the Ferrari actually felt more nimble to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe had I had the opportunity to have the Porsche worked better, had I been allowed to use the Porsche and put it in its environment the way it's designed to be built, rather than have to hold it back most of the time, then maybe I would have felt different about it.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's probably where my taste was left at that point. You know.
Third time.
So,
Surprise.
anyways, yeah, I would have the Ferrari all day long.
Mhm.
It just seemed nimble. The Ferrari reminded me of my M3.
Linear.
Nimble. It felt nimble, like it was light on its feet,
Yeah.
ready to go.
See, I've been asked a question by someone kind of recently at work about what I would really like if I could have one car to have on the track every single day. What would it be? I'd take a Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
I would have a Ferrari over a Porsche, and not because I think the Porsche isn't the one to have, but the Ferrari just has a certain appeal to it, you know? I love Porsche. I worked for them. You guys know that. And I want to own one day. If I can have one, it'd be a 959 slant nose.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think that's a 959 or something like that. A slant nose, 911. That's one of my dream cars to have. No, hands down. But if I could have a car that was being taken to the track, and I had the money, I would probably go out and get an old an F12 Stradale.
Mm-hmm.
I think that car is a super underrated Ferrari. It's like the forgotten Ferrari V12 car.
I think the 360 Challenge is underrated.
That's the old GTB car, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sure, man.
See, I think those cars are great, but for me, I wouldn't want one of those cars for the track. I mean, I wouldn't.
I mean,
mind-
if I had the money to buy a car that was just like there, and I only had to do very minimal to it, but if I wanted a car that I'm going to have to put a little bit of money into, like the M3, I'm going to use that car as an example, I would probably buy. Oh man, I had the S4. I really like the S4. I love the Audis, but they're not built to do what I want to do with them.
I would love to do Tyler's S4 on the track, just to see how it's like.
They're amazing cars on the track. The all-wheel drive is impeccable.
Mm.
It's outstanding.
Jeez Louise.
Might as well answer.
They just answer. We're gonna be done here in a second, but okay. So I guess we'll wrap this up since Mom's getting annoyed. There was a message that you could give to anybody. I mean, this is going on YouTube, so you're gonna be able to reach some people here with this. And you want to inspire someone or give some advice to someone my age, younger than me, 10-year-old me, on, I want to race cars, I want to get into cars, I want to do this and this and this. pick like three main things, I think, to summarize what you believe is one of the best routes to go about the car world and really like understanding.
Stay in school, get good grades.
Okay.
The typical dad
Okay.
response.
I'll be. I know that's just a joke, but I also know it's partially not because you're my dad. Most kids nowadays, I'll be honest, whenever I worked in those dealerships, I had the younger kids that would talk to me and ask other questions about cars because they know I do this stuff outside of work, and it's always how do you know so much about this? How do you have the ability to go out and see all this stuff and do all this stuff? I don't know, dude. I was brought up around it, so like having to actually figure out how to do it was a very honestly a struggle for me. Even though I had you and I had Grandpa, I mean, really getting into cars was I bought the S4 and I dove headfirst into the car world. I literally was knee deep in that engine bay.
Well, I think that if I would say that the first thing I would probably advise is if you're getting into this passion, this sport,
Talk to the people.
yeah, or whatever, I would say you have to. I would advise to study what you want to learn, learning, for example, learning phrases like learning what an apex means on a track, learning when to brake in late, speed out of a turn, learning, when they're saying, fast in, fast out, understanding terminologies, learning what flags mean. I'm not even kidding you. You would think, no, but you need to know when you're
Didn't you go through a little class to learn certain things about track? I gotta stop interrupting. We're gonna
every
keep
time
talking.
you go through a track, they always go through and show you. But even then, I would look up the flags and I want to learn what they are. I want to learn what they mean because I don't want to be out there trying to second guess myself if I'm being flagged or something's going on, or there's a red flag or a blue flag, or understanding what these things mean. That's the first thing I would say, just study. And then if there's a car you're going to drive or you want to drive a car, just understand that when you're starting out to do something like this, just know that you have limitations and accept that. Limitations grow. You don't have maximum limits off the get-go. And
Like a video game, you start at the very bottom.
you have to you learn what it takes to do stuff like this and enjoy it, and that's what makes you enjoy it. But I would say the biggest advice I would give anybody is this, because you can
Sorry, one last interruption. The only reason I want to bring this up is because not everyone has the opportunity to be just brought up in this world like I did or like you were, and to simply
Right.
grow up knowing like this stuff is just common knowledge to me. Some of it,
Well, that's true, and a lot of us don't. A lot of us do, and you've been fortunate. But I think the most important thing I would tell anybody that wants to do this, that likes this kind of stuff and wants to do this kind of stuff, is number one, first and foremost, is handling a car on the freeway and a highway at a high rate of speed is not the same as handling the car on a track. Do not find yourself as a qualified driver against professional drivers or drivers that have a skill set. Okay, you with me? So, for example, and this is the most important thing, I see it all the time. Guys that drive super nice cars, hot rods. They don't put them on the track, but they're on the main streets or on the highways, and they're driving. They're weaving and whirring. They're hitting gas and they're going forward. Okay, fine.
like squeeze beds.
If you believe that makes you a solid driver, you've got a lot to learn. That does not make you a good driver. That makes you a lucky driver, because on a highway, you're driving against people that don't have a handling skill, meaning mom and pop that are cruising down the road at 70 miles an hour and you're coming up on them at 90, okay? Well, guess what? They don't know what you're going to do. They may want to go to the right lane, and you might be thinking, well, I'm going to go to the right lane because I'm going to pass, or I'm going to go left lane and I'm going to pass. They may not know what you're doing. You can scare them. And if that happens, then you've got a big problem on your hands. On a racetrack, that's where you leave the speed. That's where you learn to control the car, how to handle it, how to control it, how to learn what the car is capable of doing, so that way you learn what your capabilities are to push the car. That's where you learn. You don't learn that on a freeway. I'm telling you right now, anybody who says otherwise, they're fooling themselves. You learn that stuff on an environment that's designed to help you learn that. And now, how does that help you? I'll tell you how it helps you. This just happened. This is hands down, this just happened. Mom and I are on a highway, and it was a clear day. This was about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, and I'm doing 75, 80 cruise, and I'm on the left lane. I looked in my rearview mirror and I said, I literally looked at your mom and I said, check this out. And I moved over to the right lane, and I seen the lane was clear, and I said, you watch this. I seen the lights coming on me, and I caught the guy. I could count. Now, if you count a car that's coming behind you, you can kind of get an idea they're moving pretty fast. I said, he's going to pass me standing still, and I'm doing 80 miles an hour. I guarantee you he's going to pass me like I'm not even moving. When he got to my left mirror, I go, watch, and it went, boom! And I said, watch this. I said, we are 1 mile from that exit. I said, where that sign is right there, I says, we won't see him in about a couple of seconds, and he was gone. He was traveling at about 150 miles an hour in his Camaro ZL1, and he flew by me like I wasn't even moving. Now, I know what that feels like on the other side, okay? But to do that on a cold, frosty day, you know what I mean?
On a surface
On a
that's
surface
not
that-
designed
that-
for speed.
On a surface that is still very cold, and you don't have good contact, that's just flat out dangerous.
Which is stupid.
That's a stupid move. So my point is, you leave that stuff for the track.
Yeah.
And when you're not on the track and you're driving, and if you have to have your driving skills take over, then you realize, hey, I can handle a car. I know what my car will and won't do right now. And you learn how to avoid. You might be able to avoid something because your driving skill set has been elevated a little bit more. That's where the differences come in.
All right, Dad. We're pretty much done. Last thing I want to say to the people is expect a lot different in line from here on out. Our last two videos being the Dunes trip and then the car meet. Those types of meets,
We don't condone.
we don't want to represent that. So as much as as that last video did show some stupid stuff going on at those meets, we don't recommend you go to those meets. You'll probably never see another video from inline again at a car meet like that. So just know that we're going to start doing some stuff. It's going to be a lot more Dunes things, probably a lot more racetrack stuff. I'm going to get out with the M3 this year, and he's going to be involved some more, hopefully. The F-150 is going to get some more work done this year. And another thing.
Amen.
Cool.
One last thing.
What?
I wouldn't be able to do none of this if I hadn't been praying for the day that I can do the things that I want to be able to do. So, God is first and foremost. He is the reason I can do all of this.
Amen.
You guys,
Mhm.
prayers high,
Amen.
you'll get where you need to go. So,
And a little bit of NOS.
NOS energy helps too.
Yep.
NOS energy is a great help. Thank you guys
All
for
right.
watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share the video. We'll see you next time.
Thank
Peace
you.
out.